Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the aftermath of the Ottoman campaign in Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, the Dreadnought Improvement Project, the great game. So, well, this is not really the aftermath. This save is from the last turn, but let's pretend that this is from after the war ended, whereupon the save will of course be deleted because that's the end of the campaign. So what's to happen with this massive Ottoman navy that we've got? What will it be used for post-war? Well, the older ships, many of them are already turned into museum ships. Some of those museum ships were given a brief second life just for like naval invasions, added tonnage. And they're going to go back to being museum ships. Some ships will undoubtedly be scrapped. But what about the rest of the Navy? Well, controlling the entire world with no opposition, that means there are likely not going to be any future naval battles for the Ottoman Navy. But it still needs to exist because we have to project power globally to prevent rebellions and to defeat the rebels if they appear. So, one class that comes to mind that will definitely be part of the post-war Navy, with a total of 49 hulls in service. And yes, they are all in service. The latest ones have been launched. The Veve class. So, it gets to serve on. Kind of a no-brainer, this one, because not only are they very cheap to build, they're also low maintenance. They're fast, 36 knots, not too big. And let's see, what's the crew number? 825. But many of those guys are busy manning guns and torpedo launchers. We need to make room for more like naval infantry, because that's a lot of what this ship is going to be doing. The torpedo launchers, they will probably go, because this, well, there probably won't be any like large capital ships for it to sink. It's mainly gonna be running down smugglers and such, and maybe landing like a platoon worth of naval infantry to support like local army garrisons, perhaps. Let's see. Should we reduce the main armament? I think so. We can keep the A and B turret for shore bombardment. In which case, we're going to be changing the ammunition loadout. Mostly HE, I think. Yeah. XY turrets, they can go. Let's look at rebuilding the entire aft section, actually. Let's treat this as accommodation for naval infantry. So, crew numbers, 48 is the highest. Let's see, can we? Yeah, it'll have to be like that. Actually, let's put some of these in between here. If I can make them fit. No? No. Didn't like that. How about that one? Is it centered? Yeah, it's kind of centered. And pretend that is more accommodation for like naval infantry. I can't really build it out anymore. This is a very small hull, actually. Well, let's go back to this one. Crew 3. That's not much. We can pretend. It's like a naval infantry barracks kind of thing. Or a gym, maybe. I'm not sure. It's something, definitely. How about these guns, the 3.5-inch guns, the singles? Do we want to keep them here? Or replace them with something else? I'm not sure. We have to put one here, otherwise we get like the error for not having something mounted on the barbette. Actually, speaking of barbettes, how about... Now, I know missiles are not in this game. I was gonna have like a lot of these and just pretend they are like vertical launch tubes. I can't really put them right next to each other, so I guess that's a bust. Oh, it's gonna just be like this then. Removed a couple turrets. And can we maybe place one more of these here? Yeah, it looks kind of weird because it doesn't look all connected, but again, if you just look at the silhouette of the ship, it's not too bad. So that would be roughly what a post-war Veve would look like. Again, these have to be there have to be guns mounted because the game says so. But there we go. We reduced the weight. Let's increase the quarters. That's the whole point of this, after all. And yeah, light patrol cruiser carrying maybe maybe a platoon worth or more of naval infantry to support local garrisons if there should be like some kind of uprising or something against our glorious empire. Still, keeping it cheap. Actually, even cheaper now that we removed the torpedoes and half the main armament. So that's the post-war Veve. For the sake of the thumbnail, let's remove these guns here. Should we have this on the thumbnail? Maybe. It's a fan favorite. And these back there just so we can save it. Right. So they're going to be kept in service. Might even add a few more of these. Because probably some of the heavy cruisers will just be retired. So what other light cruiser classes do we have in service? You got 3 Murad 3s. Like they can, and 1 Murad 4. I guess they can be kept in service for a limited time. Like, they're good ships, but logistically, it makes, and especially look at the maintenance, these are expensive to keep in service. It just makes a lot more sense to just focus on one type of light cruiser, and that will of course be the Veve. Medusa and Furious captured ships. Not too expensive to keep in service compared to the Murads at 32 million per month. It just doesn't make too much sense to keep them. So they're gonna be retired as well. There was one more, I think. Alata. Kind of similar to the Veve. You got 4 of them. What does it look like? I've forgotten. Oh, well, I think I vaguely remember designing this. Yeah, it's designed on the different hull than the Veve. So that's why it's bigger, even though it's at minimum displacement. I think I just wanted some variety. I built 4 of them and stationed them somewhere where nothing much happened, so they didn't see much action. So what to do with these? Well, kind of similar to the Veve. Oops, didn't mean to remove the secondary tower, but I guess that had to happen anyway. So the main guns, they got triple turrets. Well, we just took a bunch of 7.5 quads off of a bunch of Veves, so it makes sense to just give these the same armament. Just for, like, interchangeable parts and such. I get 50 on the 50 crew on that rear tower. That's the same structure though as we put on the Veve. So yeah, we're just gonna do this kind of the same thing. If I can just find the right pixel to click this on. It's a huge gap between it and the funnel. Not very nice to look at. That's better, I guess. We got 3.9s on this. Triples. Not quads. Well, Veves have 3.5s, so again, it doesn't make sense to have like a unique caliber. I guess the 3.9 is not too unique, but in terms of light cruiser service, we can put one here too. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe a couple singles? It's good enough. The radar can stay. Let's keep this a simple refit. But it would maybe be nice if... no, they cannot go 36 knots, so they cannot keep up with the smaller Veves. But... and they got a lot less crew. Even at spacious quarters. Hmm. Well, it's not too complicated of a refit, so I guess the Navy can get like 10 more years of service out of these. Better than just scrapping them, right? At least get some use out of them. Yeah. More maintenance cost than the refit Veve, but 1 million more a month. But, you know, only 4 of them. So, other ships. E-Class heavy cruiser. They're pretty much brand new, but I don't really see much of a use for them. They can only go 28 knots. They're expensive both to build and maintain. And there's just not much about them that is useful in a post-war context. So I think they will not live on for very long. Now the TB-90, 94, 40, 1958 refits, I guess they should be renamed. But we got so many of them. And like their use is now like not really something we need because there are not going to be any more naval battles. So we're not going to need like the huge torpedo volleys that they can provide. That's their only purpose currently. So I'm thinking something like a patrol boat kind of thing. Patrol boat slash brown water navy. Something like that. We're not going to need the torpedoes. In fact, the torpedoes on these small boats very much a liability. Because what would happen if the rebels got a hold of one? They might use it to maybe sink a capital ship or something in port, and that would be that would not be good for morale, and that could easily be used as rebel propaganda, like sinking a huge Ottoman battleship. So we can't risk that. It has to have 1 torpedo tube at least, because it's a game rule. It's a torpedo boat. We're just gonna pretend this is something else. There. So what will it need to do its job? It's gonna need a bit more crew. They might have to like capture smugglers and such. Well, let's just put this out of the way for now. That 3-inch gun, is that the biggest one we can mount? We can only mount single barrel guns, apparently, because it's a torpedo boat. We can go up to 5-inch. Does that even fit? Not up there on the forecastle. And anything else would be like too far from the previous place. So, sticking with the 3-inch. But we're gonna make it 3.5 just for like interchangeable ammunition and such. A bigger tower might be useful. This is too big. I would have to increase the beam. This one fits. So the TB-40 gets a new life as a patrol boat. This one is yeah, we can't place it too far from the previous place. Like so, maybe? And we can cheat with the barbette. Mount some of these square ones here. This is getting a little bit ugly, but that thing just has to be there. Right, increased quarters. Still not much crew on it, because it's a tiny little boat. Needs to be 0.5. Not valid, empty barbette. That's where the secondary guns come in. Now, it needs a radio to maybe call in reinforcements from a Veve or similar. Some better turret traverse. Now we're actually overweight. And that has to be the same automatic 3-inch gun as other ships have. It gets to have a rangefinder. And a sonar. That's a costly little refit of this this old boat. Are we gonna keep the same speed? I think so, because 38 knots is a very useful thing to have. But we're gonna have to save some weight if we want to save it. Let me go with the lighter dual funnel. I do want a dual funnel though. Like so. Maybe we can remove these silly things, because they are taking up a bit too much weight. There, that can be saved as is. Not gonna do too much to it, I think. But that is the new patrol boat. Bit of a 4-way to offset, but we put this back there. This one too. I was trying to give it like a very restricted field of fire, but I guess that's how it has to be. Eh, that's good enough. It's now very ugly, but it's a boat that can go 38 knots with an auto-loading 3.5-inch gun that now has an actual fire control system. Good. Good enough. You can get a few more years of service out of these. Well, the latest batch are actually brand new, so they can be kept in service, I guess, maybe even into the 90s. Because it's not a very demanding service, I would think. Like a small Coast Guard cutter kind of thing. Now the DD-10 is well, similar to the TB-94. It's a design that no longer serves a purpose because its primary job no longer exists. There's not going to be any use for long-range torpedo volleys against massive enemy navies. But like the TB-94, it's a hull that we have a lot of in service. So might as well make use of them. So what to do? There's not many options for this hull. Do we have like any main tower? No, that's actually the biggest one. So tower and funnels, they can stay as they are. Torpedo launcher, again, something we have to have because the game says so. Just gonna make it the smallest one. I can just pretend it's some kind of deck accessory. Main guns. I guess these don't fit. Do we, I can't even put anything back here. Because that's too far from previous place. I think maybe we're just gonna remove the torpedoes for now. Make room for, you know, something else. Crew quarters. Keep them as light patrol vessels. I think that's the best use the post-war Navy can get out of these. Again, removing the torpedoes, that's also a security concern. Because the only capital ships left anywhere that the torpedoes can be used on are our own, which would be unacceptable. Speaking of capital ships, the Shedin Deden, latest battlecruiser class. Not well, okay, it's a bit more expensive to keep in service than the E-class heavy cruiser. But it's also a 34 knot battlecruiser. So we can get some use out of these, I think. First order of business would be to reduce the maintenance cost. And also, is it this funnel here that is, yeah, slightly out of place, but yeah, we're overweight. XY turrets, I think like with the cruisers, they will have to go. A and B turret can be retained for shore bombardments. But I simply don't think there's much to use for 2 additional main gun turrets back here, just for that purpose. We're gonna need to have some crew quarters. I would think at least a couple companies of naval infantry could be carried on such a big ship. Should we replace the gas turbines? Minus 12.5% maintenance cost. Okay, so they're actually kind of cheap. What would happen if we put in a diesel engine? Not too much. Doesn't make a big difference in maintenance cost. Neither do turbo electric engines. So we're just going to keep what it has, because it's easier that way. If it's not going to make a big difference, then why spend the time and money replacing it? Armor is fine, I guess. I still want to see if it's like possible to have something that resembles vertical launch tubes. The square ones didn't work because you can place them tight enough together. Oops. These ones are off grid, so I'm gonna have to move them. First attempt at a missile cruiser and Ultimate Admiral dreadnoughts. Yeah, they're round and not square, but I guess the missiles are round. That makes sense. And they're further back here, and I don't think you'd get the depth. In fact, these ones on the corner are kind of dubious, because they have to extend far below decks, right? But that's kind of cool, I guess. Actually, let's remove these. Yeah, no, that works. Those are 18 missile tubes. Cool. As a threat, in case there is a rebellion, if you do anything, we're just gonna nuke your village. And the constant fear that no matter where we are in the world, it's not gonna take long for one of these to get there at 34 knots. That should help keep the peace, I think. Do I want a better secondary tower? Targeting station 4. Like we got these like large towers here. Same as on the Buick Agri class. I guess in this case that would make sense. You wouldn't need the extended range finding for turrets when you are now a missile cruiser. Gonna oh, cannot place a secondary gun there. Not one of these 7.5s at any rate. Fine. this is one of these cases where the towers are not the same height. But there we go. Right, made it a little bit cheaper. Gave it a new life as a missile cruiser. Of course, can't save it like this because we need to mount something on each of those tiny barbettes, as the game says so. Doesn't take too long. There. Yeah. Guess we can save it like this. How useful is it going to be really? And that would depend on how peaceful the post-war Ottoman Empire ends up being. So, other battlecruisers in service. The Shed and Dead, and we've got 12 of these. So it makes sense that they should... they are amongst the ones that will be kept. More interchangeable parts and hulls and things. Yavuz, we got 4 of them. They're kind of old. I guess their immediate post-war life would be just sailing around, showing the flag and such. Let everyone know who's in charge. Same with the Budoklus. We only got 2 of those. But then they're going to be retired. Probably without any further refits or modernizations. They've had like a long life and a lot of service. When were these built originally? The Yavuzas. It says here 1950, but I don't think... No, that's the refit. Come here, scroll bar. I know they're older than that. I guess the original design was deleted, but we can find them. In 1940. Are they that new? Buroklu is 1929. I thought they were older. Yanisseri, 1925. Yeah, these are gonna go straight to museum. I think. Because they're not really that fast either. And all the captured battlecruisers that we have 1 of. Same as the Yavuzas. I'm gonna be sailing around for some months, maybe a few years, showing the flag, and then they're going to be retired. Are they going to be kept as museum ships? I'm not sure. Because it's not as if these ships did that much, really, in our service. So, but the Buyuk Agri 2 and the original 2 Buyuk Agris, 1932. That's not too old. That's 30 years. You got 8 of them in service. 10 if you're counting the 2 originals. They can be given the same refit. Also makes sense to keep them in service. So we're going to give these the same refit as the Shedding Dead Ends. Or at least some of the latest ones will get that refit. the oldest ones would be more than 30 years old, which is, at that point, like realistically, the maintenance costs are going to be going up. But they were built in multiple batches, and I don't think the latest ones built are that old. I'd have to check, but they're probably 10 to 15 years old, which is workable. And get some more use out of them. But the main armament. Should we keep the 16s? I guess that's the easiest. Oh, come on, laggy game. You can take one of the triple turrets off of the aft, off of the stern. Put it as the B turret. Send the 2 twin turrets to the scrapyard. Do we need all these 6-inch guns? Probably not. Not these unique 4.2-inch guns either. The 6.1's kind of unique, I guess, but not too bad. I guess the 2-inch guns won't fit here. Only the 4-inch guns, so we're just gonna leave them empty. Let's give them the same barbette treatment. Not that one, because it's got like a nub sticking out. Missile tubes. Trying to place them all in one line. With a uniform gap in between. Easier said than done. Even when you're using the shift key to place things more carefully. Like so. These are out of position. Oh, it's that one that's out of position. Really? It's close enough. Close enough. Epilogue 2 now as a missile battlecruiser. We can increase the range quite easily. These are, I notice now, higher maintenance cost than the Shed-in Deadens, further contributing to their more limited life. Also because they're older, I guess. And a 4-month refit time. Let's give them better radar. I'm gonna need that. Smaller main guns, more expensive. You can maybe keep a couple of them as these. And the rest ones will be retired. as they get too old. I'll just have to ruin this this beauty by placing secondary guns so I can save it. Which is making the game lag. There. Viable design, says the game. So that was it for battlecruisers. Now, battleships. That's another thing. We've got a lot of battleships. They will probably not be too useful. Some of the older ones that we don't have too many of, like the Sahis, they're going to be retired. Tanzimat, I got 4 of them. They're not too old, but we only have 4 of them. I guess they can be kept for a limited time and then retired. Now, the Sultan Osman II and the 2 original Sultan Osmans, 10 in total. Wow, very expensive. Not as expensive to maintain as the Tanzimat at 106 million. That's still twice as much as a Shed and Dead, and it's much, much slower. But I'm thinking, in case, like worst case, there is some big rebellion somewhere in the world. Maybe the Americas decide to secede from the Ottoman Empire, or somewhere in Asia tries to do that, and they grab a bunch of ships with them. It would be nice if the strongest, most like ship-to-ship combat-focused part of the Ottoman Navy is retained in Constantinople. So, yeah, the 4 Tanzimats are actually going there. And they're going to be mostly unchanged, maybe somewhat modernized, but they're going to keep the guns. Some of the Sultan Osmans as well. But it's like too big of a ship and too expensive of a ship to just keep sitting there just in case there is a need for something to blast another ship with 20-inch guns. So let's experiment a little bit. Let's do something similar to the Shed and Dead End type refit with adding missile tubes, because this big fat stern section can probably fit a lot of missile tubes. First thing I'm noticing, these 4.2-inch guns are gonna go. Maybe those 7.5s as well. These 20-inch guns, we're actually gonna lengthen them, but we're just gonna keep the A and B turrets. The Sultan Osman II was actually built with shorter guns than the original Sultan Osman. So the 8 latest ones have 50 caliber guns. The 2 oldest ones have 55s, and that was intentional to give them improved deck penetration, because that would after the deck hits were reintroduced into the game. But with these now being more focused on shore bombardment, being able to reach 51 kilometers inland is pretty nice. And we keep the shells. Let's go with triple base. Let's go with lighter shells. But with improved range, 59. Or are light shells more longer ranged in this mod? 59, 53. Yeah, lighter shells are longer ranged. And 60 kilometers inland. But they're mostly going to be firing HE, I think. So that's 56 kilometers inland. How about with high capacity? 49. The capitalistic AP2 can hit bunkers out to 60. I would think that's useful. I would think that's a useful thing to have. Like a ship that can sit offshore and just sling long range, quite precise shells at enemy positions. It even saved some weight, making them light shells. So I'm gonna remove half the artillery armament though, and some of the secondaries. I'm gonna keep the structure mostly intact. There's not too much we can do with regards to towers anyway. So how's this gonna look with missile tubes? It was this one. We can fit a lot of vertical launch cells on the stern. Can we like stagger them? It looks like it would fit like this, but it won't. The pattern is getting ruined. They won't all fit like in a neat grid. That is very annoying. It's because they're not entirely round. There are these bits on the side. But we can manage. And then another row on the outside here. I think that would work. Does it make sense to have a big battleship doing this and not just many smaller cruisers? Maybe not. But you can't deny that it has a certain presence about it that might make enemies surrender before you actually have to launch. I think we can squeeze one more in here. Yes. That's a nicer pattern too. I like that more. Now back here. What to do? Oh yeah, that's right. You can fit any barbettes back here for some reason. No, some can fit. It just has to be on this grid here. And you can't put them further back than that. Okay, so never mind. Might be putting these turrets back here that were here to begin with. I don't like them pointing to the side. Looks weird. There. Largest remaining battleship of the Ottoman Navy. Now armed with missiles. Less focused on ship-to-ship combat than they were, but that's fine. Because they will hopefully not be needing that. Also, yeah, of course. Spacious quarters. That's 3,500 crew. Many of whom are probably naval infantry. Although these missile magazines will probably take up a lot of space. It could be used for... I don't know. You could fit a lot of crew here. Or a lot of like ground troops in this huge space. So maybe the whole missile thing is a bad idea. But it's the one we are going with. For this class at least. Now, for heavy cruisers, the most numerous type is the S-class project heavy cruisers, later known as the Lepanto class. These are basically the same ones. At 27 hulls in service. So, let's see if something can be done with these. I mean, maintenance is not too bad. They're kind of cheap. But do they really offer too much over a Veve? Well, it's almost twice as big. It does cost more to maintain. Veve ended up at 8.5 million a month, I think, after refits. Well, this one being a little bit more expensive than that, but not too much. It's like 50% more costly to maintain. Now, 5.3 inch guns, that's a bespoke caliber. We don't have many of these. They only have 5.3s because 5.9 wouldn't fit. They were too big. So we're going to be replacing those with 3.9s. We're going to be rebuilding the stern again. Secondary guns, 3 inch. Oh, they got different type of 3 inch turrets than the Veves. Right. Actually, would this be a better... Oh, they got a bit sticking out too. Like a winch of some kind. Secondary tower. Are we going with this one? If we're not mounting any X turret, maybe. Speaking of, the main gun turrets are also kind of unique. And we do have a bunch of leftover quad 7.5-inch turrets after the Veve refit. So, in my opinion, it does make sense to replace the main battery with 7.5-inch guns. It's gonna lose some of its teeth. It's gonna lose some range as well. Almost 10 kilometers of range lost. Hang on, these gotta be 55s. Same as the Veve. Faster rate of fire though. And they're probably gonna be like cheaper to use for live firing exercises and such. And it's gonna be easier to replace the barrels because we got so many of them. So we're going with 7.5s. Standardizing on that caliber for cruisers. Well, there's not going to be too much of a difference from one of these and a refit Veve. It has more crew though, or translated, more like embarked naval infantry. And I don't think too many of these would fit, but if we could do 9. That would give them a at least one thing that they can do that the Veve cannot do, just to justify them being kept in service. Yeah. Project S, or aka Lepanto class heavy cruiser. Now refit to a missile cruiser. It's a running trend. Yeah, we could get some decades of use out of these, I think. At least some of them. The latest ones built are not that old. The earliest ones, the original Project S class, probably gonna be needing a lot of heavy maintenance to be kept seaworthy. So they're gonna be retired first, probably without getting refit. Just gonna be used as is for a short while, and then mothballed, and then if not turned into museum ships, which not all of them will be because there's so many of them. Most of them are going to be scrapped. Yeah. Yeah, we can work with this. Just gonna put down the obligatory 2-inch guns on these barbettes, just so the game is happy. There we go. So, out of 27. Well, the original S classes, they're not going to be refit. So out of 20 for the Lepanto that are newer, if we do 10, give them the refit alongside the 50 Veves, or 50 plus, because probably more of them are going to be built. I think that's a good mix. So, good kind of ships to be kept in service after refits. Both to be kept on station without being too expensive to maintain, and to serve as like fast response forces, carrying extra naval infantry to support local garrisons. But we're gonna need some new ships as well. I'm thinking something like a sloop or frigate corvette type of ship. That's the kind of ship you could get more use of in peacetime than, you know, a big battleship that's just there to threaten to destroy you and your entire city if you think about doing something naughty. It's gonna be the Frigate 64 project. It's gonna need range. It's gonna need crew quarters. Is it really gonna need that much else? 28 knot top speed just to keep up with the big battleships. Let's see if we can keep the maintenance cost low. Mercantile front tower. Oh, that's from like a transport. That looks weird. That also looks weird. I'm not sure if we can make something look good on this hull. Yes. Huge rear tower. That's much bigger than the main tower. But if we place it down here, I guess it kind of works. And this is the one that had like not too many funnels available. Like so. So if we do oil 3 and I guess diesel would be a good choice for this. The mercantile funnel actually has better funnel efficiency. Even if they don't look very good. Look kind of silly. They can't be like flipped around either. We're gonna need a bigger main tower, or it's gonna look weird. It already looks weird. A more square one? Just to keep in style with the other squareness going on here. We're gonna need the big one. Like so. We'll move the funnels again. Now we have a lot of open space here that we have to fill with something. Okay, this ship is much tinier than I thought it was, given how big this barbette looks. Yeah. Let's see, how big is this? "308 feet. That is like 90 meters? 90, yeah, around. Thereabouts. It's not too tiny. It's not too tiny. Main guns. That 4-inch gun looks huge. We're gonna need to put something on that barbette at least. Even if we're pretending it's not a barbette. Also, the game is telling me I need a torpedo tube. There, mostly for show. Right. Maintenance less than 1 million, but that's probably gonna go up. Yeah. Although auxiliary 4, once again, making it cheaper. Modern 2, just because that's what we build our ships out of. Double bottom is 9, reinforced. Double bottom is fine. Reinforced 1 is fine. Some kind of anti-flood thing. Max HE is fine. What kind of range do we get out of these now? 11 kilometers. That's not too bad. Sonar and radio and radar and all that stuff. Cost is going up. We're almost at 60 million. But maintenance being low is a good thing. Uh, 0.5 inch. Let's do 1 on the main belt. Let's give it a little bit of a main belt. And then the rest can just be 0.5 inch plate. One on the conning tower as well. 3.5s. Same as on the Veves and others. Yeah. I guess that's like a serviceable little frigate. But is it really worth building a lot of these over the excellent DD-56, which we have so many of? Yeah, it's gonna be cheaper to maintain. And it's also cheaper to build, but these are already built. So, yeah. I guess that'll have to do. At least it looks more seaworthy than the refit TB-94, which by virtue of being a TB-94 is like very low freeboard. And it's actually cheaper to maintain. It's not as fast though. 28 knots versus 38 knots. That's a big difference. But it should have longer endurance. Like you can keep these on patrol for a bit longer than a TB-94, which I imagine would not be Well, I guess they have been out on the open ocean a lot already, just as part of naval task forces and such. So I guess they should be capable of that. Now, cruisers. Do you really need anything when we have the Veves? Modern Light Cruiser 1. Have we built anything on this? It gets the default towers. I don't think this is it. Advanced Escort Cruiser 2. That's the Murad class. That can be made very big, like heavy cruiser sized. Do we need them? Yeah, no, they're gonna be just ending up very, very expensive. But there is one capital ship hull that I don't think I built a single ship on during the campaign. So, just for that reason, the R class will be built on this hull. Optimal speed is 30 knots. That is fine. Let's go many bulkheads. We're gonna go spacious quarters though. It's very narrow. Very slim. I do kind of want to fatten it up a little bit. Just to give it some better proportions. And we're going to do the biggest tower on this. Oh yeah, this is the one that has... for some reason it doesn't get access to the tall version of this American funnel. There's a version of this funnel that is almost twice as tall. And looks weird on almost every ship, but on this one, it would be the one that looks to scale. Because this tiny funnel here is just kind of squeezed in between. Or I guess that huge funnel that, like the Graf Spee funnel, if that makes sense, that a lot of German ships have, that would also look good here, I think. Maybe. Or the big, no, the big French one with the angle, that would fit. That would look nice. But here though, what we have are these things. Which I do like the American funnels, but this version of it is just too stubby. When all the towers you have access to are huge and tall. I was gonna say, oh, we can't even fit missile tubes here, but looks like the game has already taken care of that. Look at this. We already have built-in vertical tubes. We're gonna need main guns though, somewhere. We can fit more tubes here, I think. If I flip these 45 degrees, or have that bit in there. Oh, that'll have to do. That's 10 more tubes. Mounted there. And now we're gonna have some here as well. Yeah. And again, if we pretend these are also vertical launch tubes, then we suddenly have quite a few. We do need a main gun. The game says we do. I guess a 9-inch quad would look just tiny on this. But then again, this is a missile cruiser. The A turret is gonna have its barrels blown up by the missiles. I guess it can traverse first, and then it's okay. There's probably some kind of safety system installed. Yeah. 9-inch guns, very tiny for a battleship. But this is not a gun battleship, so it's fine. Can I fit more on the stern? Maybe. Maybe another 9 cells back here. I can just, that wasn't even centered. I can't fit them further aft than that. So, 6 more cells back there. 16. 25. And then, these ones here that we pretend are also missile tubes. I guess that works. So, for the rest of the ship, let's see if we can keep the maintenance somewhat low. If we go diesel, 49. Gas turbines, 44. That's much cheaper. So that's what we're going to be using. Auxiliary 3, 49. 48. So number 4 is cheaper. Anything here? You got like maintenance bonuses? Not something I've been looking at too much. I'm gonna get the armor, of course. Some barbette protection. Some anti-torp. Some double bottom. Some anti-flood. And a citadel. Maintenance is now up to 94 million. Basically. So it's gonna be more than 100 by the time we're done here with this ship. Max HE is fine. High capacity and capped AP, I guess. Now the guns are more of an afterthought. But this is also supposed to be like an actual command. The hull is called command battleship, and that's basically gonna be its job. You can imagine this and like a flotilla of Veves. Probably after the Sultan Osman class battleships have been retired. This is going to be what replaces them as command flagships, I would think. Do we need 15 inches of belt armor? Probably not. We're not even going to need 10, I think. Same with like the deck armor. It doesn't need that much armor. This is where we're going to be saving monies. Normally I would, of course, fill out the inner belts, but in this case, it's not really going to be fighting like enemy big gun battleships. Well, hopefully. Unless something has gone really, really wrong in my global empire. There's no way we're going to be fighting anyone that has the capability of building a battleship. So that's not going to be its job. Can't even do 10 inches on those turrets because they're too small. But that's good enough. That's fine. These ones are not vertical launch tubes because they're just kind of floating. So they're gonna be we don't have those cool anti-aircraft looking 3-inch guns on this, so we're gonna do the 2-inch guns instead. There, and there. Every other barbette is actually a missile tube, I have decided. So how many, we got 16 9.5-inch guns. So a little bit bigger guns than the Veves, but not too much bigger. But the main armament is the, let's see, 25, 31, 37 missile tubes. Yeah, really good missile armament. How many did we put on the refit Sultan Osman? 41, it seems. Just judging by the single 2-inch guns, which went on those barbettes. How about the shedding dead end? You got 18. And 9 on the Lepanto. So, and maintenance is also more than a Sultan Osman. Cost is lower though, the build cost. And it's not a valid ship yet because I need to place something on all of these barbettes. Luckily, that's not required for the built-in barbettes. So, yeah, there we go. A couple new designs of dubious utility, but at least a decent boondoggle for whichever shipyard is contracted to build them. And some refits of existing designs. Just keeping what we have in service for a few more years. I didn't design a new light cruiser because, well, I think it would be very hard to do better than a Veve. even if I pretend I have vertical launch missile tubes. So that is basically what the Ottoman Navy will consist of for the next couple of decades. After dominating every other empire in the world, conquering the whole planet, and then just keeping the peace. Hopefully without ever like encountering any other enemy warship. So yeah. The end. As you will have seen in the previous episode. Next campaign, I have decided which nation I'm gonna play. It's gonna be one of the main nations, so it's not gonna be not one that has been added in DIP. I will be using DIP, probably the extended version, not the great game, because the extended version reintroduces the minor nations that you can sell ships to, which I think is a fun part of the game. Designing ships just for export purposes. Whenever that will be, I'm not entirely sure. I know there's a new version coming out. There was recently a new version of Tweaks and Fixes released that has fixed and tweaked a lot of things that I have been unhappy about, like the unsinkable ships. They made it so resistance and floatability are no longer scaled by your displacement slider, which is the thing that broke everything when that was introduced in vanilla in 1.6 point something. So that's been fixed. Looking forward to playing that. I will be doing some modifications of my own. And in the meantime, I'm gonna do some non-campaign videos for a bit. Goodbye, and take care.